InnerWhisper channel.
The flow of time learning from impermanence. Here we are, together, sharing a moment in time. You are listening. I am speaking. And even as these words reach your ears, the moment has already changed. The sound that was here a second ago is already gone. The thought you had just a moment before this one has already faded. Everything, even the act of listening right now, carries the mark of impermanence. And yet, in the rush of our daily lives, we often forget this most fundamental truth. We live as if things will stay the same forever: our relationships, our bodies, our youth, our routines. But time, quietly and without pause, continues its flow, reminding us again and again that nothing lasts forever. Think about your childhood. Close your eyes for a second and see if you can return to a memory. Maybe a summer day, the smell of freshly cut grass, the sound of laughter echoing through a neighborhood street, the warmth of your parents' hand. For just a moment, you can almost feel it again. And then, like sand slipping through your fingers, it is gone. That child is gone. Those moments are gone. And yet, somehow, we carry them within us. They remind us that life is always moving forward. That change is not just an occasional visitor, but the very fabric of existence. We struggle with this. We resist it. As human beings, we crave permanence. We want our loved ones to stay, our successes to last, our bodies to remain strong, our routines to keep us safe. When life shifts, when illness arrives, when relationships end, when opportunities vanish, we feel betrayed, as if something unnatural has happened. But the truth is the opposite. It is permanence that is unnatural. Change is the rule, not the exception. Imagine a river. If you step into it once, and then step into it again a minute later, the water you touch is not the same water. It has flowed, carried downstream, replaced by something new. Life is that river. Every breath, every heartbeat, every moment is part of a current that never stops. And yet we often stand at the shore, shouting at the river, demanding it to stay still for us, refusing to see its beauty because we are afraid of what it means that we, too, are carried in that flow. But here is the paradox. When we stop fighting the current, when we accept the flow, we discover peace. When we embrace impermanence, instead of resisting it, we begin to see life with new eyes. Suddenly, the ordinary becomes precious. That cup of coffee in the morning, the smile of a stranger, the hug from a loved one, none of it will last. And because of that, it becomes infinitely valuable. Let me ask you this. Have you ever lost something, only to realize after it was gone how much it meant to you? Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was your health. Maybe it was simply a moment you didn't fully appreciate until later. That is impermanence teaching us, often in painful ways, what matters most. But what if we could learn that lesson now, while things are still here? What if, instead of waiting for loss to wake us up, We chose to live awake in the present, cherishing what is fleeting while we still have it. In Buddhist teachings, impermanence anicca is not meant to depress us. It is meant to liberate us. Because when we understand deeply that everything changes, we stop clinging so desperately. We stop trying to control what cannot be controlled. We begin to loosen our grip on life. And in that loosening, there is freedom. Think about the seasons. No matter where you live, you know the cycle. Spring blossoms, summer flourishes, autumn fades, winter rests. Each season gives way to the next. No season tries to hold on to itself. The flowers don't cry when they wilt. The trees don't resist when their leaves fall. Nature simply flows, accepting the rhythm of change. And yet, as humans, we often act as if we should be exempt from this law. We cling to spring, wishing it would last forever. We fear winter, dreading its arrival. And in doing so, we miss the beauty of the cycle itself. Now consider your own body. Every cell is changing, renewing, dying, being replaced. The body you had 10 years ago is not the same body you have today. Your thoughts, your emotions, your very sense of self, these two are shifting. You are not the same person you were yesterday, nor will you be the same tomorrow. Life is movement. Identity is fluid. Impermanence is written into every heartbeat, every breath. So why, then, do we resist it so fiercely? Because deep down, we are afraid. Afraid of losing what we love. Afraid of uncertainty. Afraid of death. But what if death is not an enemy? What if impermanence is not a curse, but a gift? Think about it. If everything lasted forever, would you truly cherish it? If every day were identical, would you really notice its beauty? It is the fleeting nature of life that gives it meaning. The sunset is beautiful precisely because it does not last. A song moves us because it ends. A life is precious because it is finite. Let's reflect for a moment on love. Every relationship you've ever had, whether it lasted years or just a brief encounter, was touched by impermanence. People change. Circumstances shift. Paths diverge. Sometimes we feel heartbroken when someone leaves, when love fades, when life takes us in different directions. But the very fact that love existed at all, even for a short time, is a miracle. Impermanence teaches us to say thank you for what was, for what is, even for what will never be again. Gratitude becomes our response to change. The challenge is this: how do we live in a world where everything changes, without becoming bitter, hopeless, or afraid? The answer lies in presence. When we ground ourselves in the now, we stop demanding that the present last forever. We simply live it. We taste the meal. We listen to the laughter. We breathe in the air, knowing that it will pass, and that is okay. Presence transforms impermanence from a source of suffering into a source of wonder. In America today, many people feel overwhelmed by the speed of life technology, social media, work pressures, endless to-do lists. We try to hold on, to slow things down, to resist the current. But impermanence reminds us, you don't need to control the river. You just need to learn how to float. You don't need to predict the future or cling to the past. You just need to live fully in the moment given to you. Some of the greatest wisdom comes from people who are nearing the end of their lives. Ask them what matters, and they rarely talk about money or possessions. They talk about moments, sunsets, laughter, kindness, love. They see clearly that time is limited, and because of that, they treasure what remains. But you don't have to wait until the end to see this truth. You can choose to see it now. You can choose to live with awareness that everything is passing, and in that awareness, discover the richness of life. So as you listen to these words, I invite you to pause. Look around you. Notice something small, a shadow on the wall, the sound of a clock ticking, the breath in your chest. These are here now, and soon they will be gone. Can you appreciate them in their fleetingness? Can you let impermanence open your heart instead of closing it? Because here is the secret. Impermanence is not only about loss. It is also about possibility. The fact that everything changes means that no pain lasts forever. No failure is final. No dark night endures without dawn. Just as joy fades, so too does sorrow. Just as youth slips away, so too does grief. Change is the promise that whatever you are going through now will not stay the same. There is always the chance for renewal, for healing, for transformation. This is why impermanence, far from being depressing, is actually the ground of hope. The river keeps moving, and because it moves, new waters arrive. Life keeps unfolding, and because it unfolds, new chances appear. No moment is fixed. Nothing is permanent. And that means that every moment is alive with potential. And if impermanence is the ground of hope, then the way we meet it becomes the heart of our freedom. Most of our suffering does not come from change itself, but from our resistance to it. We spend so much energy wishing things were different, wanting the past to return, or trying to freeze the present, or fearing what tomorrow might bring. It is this clinging, this grasping, this constant demand for permanence in a world that refuses to give it, that creates the heaviness in our hearts. But when we soften our grip, when we learn to open our hands, life becomes lighter. Think about grief. When someone we love passes away, it feels as if the world has shattered. And in a sense, it has. Something precious has ended. The loss is real. But notice this too. Over time, the sharp pain softens. Memories remain, sometimes bittersweet, sometimes joyful, but the unbearable weight does not stay forever. Even grief changes. Even sorrow is impermanent. And within that truth lies a strange kind of comfort. Nothing, not even pain, will stay the same. We can see this in our own hearts. Think of a moment when you were angry, truly furious. At the peak of it, It feels permanent. It feels like it will never end. But then, hours later, maybe days later, that fire cools. The storm passes. Anger, too, is impermanent. Or think about joy. A moment of laughter, of love, of triumph, it lights us up. But no matter how radiant, that moment also fades. Happiness changes shape, sometimes dissolving, sometimes transforming into something subtler. Our inner world is like the sky. Clouds of many kinds pass through it, but the sky itself remains. This is why meditation, mindfulness, and reflection are so powerful. They help us see the changing nature of our thoughts, emotions, sensations. Sit quietly for even a few minutes, and you will notice it. The mind wandering, the body shifting, the breath flowing in and out. Everything comes and goes. Everything is moving. You begin to see impermanence not as an abstract idea, but as a living reality in every breath. And yet, even as we understand this, it is not always easy to live it. For example, many of us cling to our identities. We tell ourselves stories. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I've always been. But identity, too, is impermanent. Who you are today is not who you were 10 years ago. Who you will be tomorrow is not who you are now. Every experience changes us. Every choice reshapes us. Sometimes we cling so tightly to a fixed sense of self that we stop growing. We fear change because it threatens our story. But what if, instead of fearing it, we welcomed it? What if we saw ourselves as rivers too, always moving, always becoming? Let me share with you a simple but profound truth. Impermanence means possibility. Because nothing is fixed, everything can change. The person who feels stuck in suffering today can discover healing tomorrow. The one who has failed can rise again. The one who has lost their way can find a new path. Nothing is set in stone. This is why, in Buddhism, impermanence is not a reason for despair, but a doorway to transformation. Look at history. Nations rise and fall. Cultures shift. What was once unthinkable becomes normal. What was once impossible becomes everyday. Electricity, airplanes, the internet, none of this existed just a short while ago. Change is constant, unstoppable, and full of surprises. It's who you are, what you know, the world you live in, it is all in motion. That means no situation, however dark, is beyond hope. But to live this truth, we must practice letting go. Not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of releasing our grip on what we cannot hold. Imagine carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go. At first, you think you must keep it. You clutch it tightly. But the longer you carry it, the more exhausted you feel. Finally, one day, you set it down. And the moment you do, you realize the freedom of empty hands. This is what letting go feels like. We let go not to lose, but to make space for what's next. You may wonder, how do I let go? How do I stop clinging to the people I love, to the dreams I've built, to the life I've known? The answer is gentle. You don't have to stop loving. You don't have to stop dreaming. Letting go is not about indifference. It's about recognizing that love and dreams exist within change. It's about holding life tenderly, knowing you cannot freeze it. You can still cherish it. You can still give your whole heart, but without the desperate demand that it stay forever. That is the balance. Love fully and let it flow. Sometimes we confuse letting go with losing. We think, if I let go, I will be empty. But in truth, letting go is what allows us to be filled. When your hands are clenched tightly around one thing, you cannot receive anything else. When you release, you create space for something new. This is why impermanence, though it feels like loss, is actually abundance. Because there is always something new arising, always another chance, always another moment. Think about a sunset. If you try to hold on to it, you miss its beauty. You scramble for your phone, desperate to capture it, but the colors keep changing, slipping away. But if you simply watch, if you allow yourself to be present, you experience its full glory as it unfolds. The joy is not in freezing the sunset. The joy is in seeing it while it lasts. This is life. This is impermanence. Now, I know in America, many people are driven by the desire for success, stability, achievement. These are not wrong desires. But when success fades, when stability wavers, when achievements are forgotten, we often feel devastated. What if, instead, we could see those moments as chapters in a bigger story? Each chapter ends, but the book goes on. Impermanence does not erase the meaning of what has come before. It simply makes room for what comes next. Let's bring this down to the very personal level. Think about your own journey. Think of the person you once were, the mistakes you made, the fears you carried. Some of those may still linger, but many have changed. You are not who you were. You have grown, learned, stumbled, risen again. That is impermanence at work, not only in your circumstances, but in your very being. The you who is listening to these words is already different from the you who began this talk. Change is happening right now, in real time. And this leads us to a profound truth. If everything is impermanent, then every moment matters. Every choice counts. Every act of kindness, every step of courage, every word of love, it all matters. Because it will never happen again in quite the same way. Impermanence does not make life meaningless. It makes it sacred. Because every fleeting moment is unrepeatable, unique, one of a kind. To live with this awareness is to live awake. Imagine waking up tomorrow with this perspective. Instead of rushing through your day on autopilot, you notice the way the morning light enters your room. You notice the sound of your loved one's voice. You notice the taste of your food, the laughter of your friends, the challenges that push you to grow. You notice that all of this is temporary, and therefore, all of it is a gift. How differently would you live? How much more alive would you feel? This is the invitation of impermanence. To stop sleepwalking through life and to start living fully. Awake to the beauty of what is here and now. Sometimes we spend years chasing things that we believe will finally bring us peace, a certain job, a certain partner, a certain lifestyle. But when we finally get them, the satisfaction fades and the cycle begins again. This is not because life is cruel. It is because life is teaching us. Don't cling too tightly. Nothing here lasts. That truth can feel heavy, but if we line into it, it can actually free us. We no longer expect permanence from the impermanent. We no longer try to lock the river in a glass jar. We learn to swim with it. Think about your own lives. The friendships that shifted, the relationships that ended, the seasons of your career that changed. At the time, some of those shifts may have felt like the end of the world. But here you are, still breathing, still learning, still growing. What once felt unbearable slowly became part of your story, shaping you into the person you are now. That is the quiet gift of impermanence. It carries us forward, even when we resist. One of the most powerful practices you can try is simply to pause in the middle of an ordinary day and ask yourself, what in this moment is already slipping away? It might be the warmth of your morning coffee, the sound of laughter from your child in the next room, the feeling of sunlight on your skin. These little moments are constantly vanishing, and when you notice them, you wake up to the fragile beauty of being alive. Gratitude isn't about making life perfect. It's about seeing that imperfection is what makes life precious. In relationships, impermanence shows up most clearly. Love begins, love grows, and sometimes love fades or transforms. We can't control whether people stay or leave, but we can control how we love them while they are here. When we remember that nothing is guaranteed, we love more fully, we listen more deeply, and we forgive more quickly. The awareness of impermanence can soften our hearts. It can teach us not to waste time on resentment, because time itself will not wait for us. Of course, impermanence also brings suffering, illness, aging, death. There is no sugarcoating this. We lose people we love, and eventually, we too will be lost to the world. But even here, impermanence can be a teacher. Suffering is not permanent either. Pain rises, and pain falls. Even in grief, there are moments of light, a memory that makes you smile, a kindness that reminds you you're not alone. The truth is, everything changes, including the depth of our suffering. That knowledge can give us courage to endure. Meditation can help us see this more clearly. When you sit quietly and watch your breath, you realize every inhale ends, every exhale ends, and yet another follows. Each thought appears, lingers for a moment, and dissolves. Emotions do the same. Anger, joy, sadness, excitement, they all come and go. When we practice observing rather than clinging, we discover that impermanence is not our enemy. It is simply the rhythm of existence. And when you stop fighting that rhythm, you begin to feel lighter. You no longer need to control every outcome. You no longer need life to go exactly according to your plan. You trust the flow. You trust that even when you stumble, the river carries you forward. This is what true freedom feels like, not having everything under control, but realizing you don't need to. So how do we live beautifully with impermanence? We begin by embracing it, rather than denying it. We let every sunrise remind us that today is unique and will never return. We let every goodbye remind us to love fiercely while we can. We let every setback remind us that this too will pass. And we let every joy remind us to savor the sweetness before it fades. In the end, impermanence is not a curse. It is the very reason life has meaning. If everything lasted forever, nothing would matter. It is the fleeting nature of things that makes them worth treasuring. A blooming flower is beautiful precisely because it will wither. A moment of laughter is golden because it will end. A life is precious because it does not go on forever. So carry this lesson with you. Hold life gently. Don't grip too tightly, but don't let it slip unnoticed either. Dance with it. Flow with it. Love with it. And when the time comes to let go, whether of a moment, a dream, or even this very life, let go with grace, trusting that impermanence has always been your teacher, guiding you toward freedom. Impermanence shows us that every moment is precious. Carry this wisdom with you, and if it inspired you, subscribe and join a community that chooses to live with awareness and courage.